Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Saskia Mahler show. Today, I'm very excited to have a very fresh kind of like episode for you because this episode is part of my signature program, Bleed Blissfully. So while I was putting together this amazing presentation that my women get inside of that training I was like getting so excited, goosebumps and deep soul level chills all over my body, simply because this episode is so potent. The whole training is incredibly potent. I have been spending more than 15 months by now by crafting together this very unique program out there on the market. 1 million women are offering feminine, cyclical living, menstrual health, feminine embodiment and whatsoever, but luckily every single woman is unique and in their very own way. And I must say, what has been coming through in this program is just mind-blowing myself, to be honest. So my neighbor just started playing the guitar. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. If so, I hope you enjoy it. He usually plays quite good. So that being said, the podcast episode today sometimes might sound a little bit weird because like, who is she talking to? I'm talking to my beautiful women that are on the call and inside of my Bleed Blissfully program. Okay, so I'm giving you now an extraction of that 2-hour lesson. This time it's a 2-hour session. This episode is going to be like 45 to 60 minutes because the first part is what I'm sharing with you. It's an in-depth into the theory and the context and the story of what I'm sharing today. And then after that, I'll be guiding the women in the closed container inside the group program, which you can buy soon. The doors are opening very, very soon, into very deep healing, nurturing practices to really support them in the self-healing process. I'm not sharing them with you simply because it's not about gatekeeping here. That's why I'm sharing this whole lesson with you. It is because these practices are so potent and powerful. And I'm just not one of these coaches putting like life-changing methods out there onto you without knowing that you have the support around you that you need to safely, blissfully progress through one of these transformational practices. I simply want to be really sure when you go through that deep process of healing that you are in touch with me, that I can reach out to you, you can reach out to me, and that we have a safe support net of stability and safety for each other. Simply like that, because going through a deep healing all by yourself simply is not an easy Sunday walk, okay? It's like a midnight spooky Halloween graveyard walk, and we do not want that. We want to do things together. This is simply why I'm not sharing the rest of the lesson with the practices themselves with you here in the podcast. Nevertheless, that being said, let's straight hop into it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, my beautiful Bleed Blissfully women. Let's get straight started. I invite you to come comfortably seated into your meditation position. You can be lying, sitting, standing, whatever feels comfortable for you as usual. And then close your eyes or place your eyes onto one focal point in front of you with a soft, simple gaze. And I invite you to take a deep breath in and exhale. Breathing into the belly and exhaling through the mouth. Let your womb become heavy. Feel your body sinking deeply into the ground. Really feel in soft ease as you relax your pelvis. Really feel the melting into your seat, relaxing the shoulders and neck, relaxing your jaw and forehead. Feel a soft flow of breath just naturally coming in and out your body. And gently become aware of the rhythm of your heartbeat. Feel the pulsating of your heart, your own beat and pulse of life, the basis of your own music, the symphony in your life. And then within that heartbeat, set your intention. Sing it with joy and emotion 3 times. And feel how your heartbeat is carrying this message of emotion, of intention throughout the entire body. Into every single little cell and tissue and field of your being, your body and mind. Feel it spreading out, rippling all over your being. And take another deep breath in. And exhale. Inhale deeply. And exhale. If you want, place your hands together in front of the chest. Take a moment for gratitude. And then gently rub your palms, get them warm. Scoop them over your eyes. Start blinking and winking. Open your eyes, look into your palms. Beautiful. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, beautiful women from Believe Blissfully. For just your information as well, I'm recording this as well as a podcast episode, the first part of today's class. Today's class will be 2 parts. We have the theory class, and then we have the practical part of it, where we go really deep into the material, how to do the actual healing work, where I will guide you as freaking deeply as you would have never expected to be possible in such a setting as we're having here together. Now, that being said, 1 second, my dog always is chewing on little rocks, which is really bad for her teeth. I need to give her that wooden bone. I'm training her. Lily, don't do the rock. Yes, you sweetie. Alrighty, and we are back here together. So, I'm pretty excited about this class today. So today, let me get my seat here. I'm a little bit like, oh, snuggly wuckly. Yes, now we are going good here. Perfect. So I'm incredibly excited for today's class. Little disclaimer, it's gonna get really freaking juicy, especially at the end when we go into the practical parts. Yeah, we will have incredibly profound healing techniques, which took me years to uncover and find and refine as well. I'm giving you my entire herbal collection for feminine healing. Yeah, my entire herbal collection with all the different potencies of the herbs. I'm giving you badass, deep, profound healing methodologies, and I'm gonna show you some stuff you would not expect to ever see, let's say on video or whatsoever, but I will be not gatekeeping it all and really revealing all the techniques for womb and pussy healing to you guys. No, I'll be not showing my body. We'll show you everything with my hand, okay? So don't worry about that. But, so it is still censored in some way, but it's gonna be next level healing modalities to really heal your yoni, your pussy, your womb, everything in the feminine reproductive system, okay? So, and that being said, excuse me, today it's very dark here because of rainy season, etc. I have to keep the doors open. I hope really the sound is okay for you guys. I'm giving my best here. So today, what we're doing is we are speaking about the cycles of life. Yeah. As you can see in the presentation, the Bleed Blissfully Women have a presentation, not available for the podcast, sadly. So today we're gonna go through review of the 4 phases. We just finished off with 4 incredibly intense lessons on cycle syncing in the different phases of the feminine. We spent 1.5 hours on each of the phases of the feminine, which is so profound wisdom, and you had so much time implementing that. So we're gonna go into a little review and a core message around that. After that, we'll be dipping our toes into the different moon phases, and I found a lot of studies for you around the moon phases and the impact of the moon. Then we're gonna go into lunar menstruation, yeah. What is that? What does it mean? And then as well into like, what happens if I'm not lunar menstruating actually? Why is this even relevant? And then we're gonna go into the lunar, the healing, trauma healing practices together. So that being said, and in between as well, I'm gonna bust some really intensive myth around feminine healing and the moon menstruations. Again, sorry for the sound. I really hope this is kind of working out for you still. So now, the core messages when we review the last 4 seasons of the women, right? We really went deep into the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase, the menstrual phase, the different characteristics, the different strength, the different potencies, the different weaknesses, the different requirements in nurturing, but also the different rewards we get from each of the phases, yeah? And so the core message really, after having gone so deeply into cyclical living as a woman, yeah, is that we're constantly flowing through different energies. That is true. Constantly, as women, we are flowing through different energies. Day and night already, winter and summertime, but also within ourselves, yeah? And so if we decide to live in harmony, which I guess everybody's kind of desiring on this planet, we need to adapt and will be rewarded with magic, mystic, and especially health. Absolutely. Let's be really honest. We cannot expect to be healthy and live in harmony within ourselves. We cannot expect that if we run around in the wintertime wearing just a summer dress, and if we walk around in the summertime wearing, I don't know, big fur wolf jacket, right? That will not happen. We will not be healthy. We will get sick, and we have big troubles in our life, right, in our well-being. And so in the very same way, when we do not live in harmony with the more subtle waves in big quotation marks, like as if the feminine different phases are subtle, right, if we reject to live in harmony with them, we cannot expect to be healthy and our life to feel pleasant. Yeah. No. The most important takeaway from my past lessons was, as we went really deep, what can you do in each cycle phase to deeply nurture yourself? What can you do on a diet level, on a herbal level, with the exercise, with your lifestyle, with the different decisions you take, with the different preparations you take, maybe in your business or in your sport, all these areas, self-care and rituals, and what are really the needs for the body. Yeah? The biggest stress away anyways here is that stress-free living is the most important thing. The feminine body is incredibly sensitive for stress. Men partially really grow under pressure, and they need that. Women need nurturing, grounding, safety, and space above anything else. And I really like to see it sometimes that men like men have the semen, right? And just the stem, basically, whereas women have the flower. And a seed to pop and allow this sprout to happen really needs a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure built up inside of that seed. Like I'm talking about a plant seed right now, yes? There is a lot of pressure happening for it to unfold. And I think in the very same way men actually work, because men, when we look just physically, operate on a stem and on a seed. Whereas women, yeah, women need their flower. A flower does not need pressure no more. Under pressure, a flower will not blossom but prematurely die. Yeah. And so a flower really just needs space, softness, and ease for its delicacy to unfold. And the very same way is very valid for feminine healing. Of course, men also, when they have certain diseases, they need nurturing, rest, and space. But overall, I'm not a big fan of the huge grind hustle culture. Yes, I'm a fan of being committed to your goals. Yes, I'm a fan of really focusing on what matters for you, for your life, and really going for it. Yeah. And I'm a fan of going through the obstacles, through the hindrances. That's how I build myself back up to who I am today after having had several rock bottom experiences in my life that really crushed me to the soul. I do know I have a soul because there was nothing else left than a soul for me to live with, honestly. So I am a big fan of rebuilding yourself and really believing in your dreams and not giving up until you achieved and reached and embody and experience your dreams in real life. Yet the feminine needs nurturing, otherwise it just comes burnout. Yeah. And so that's the most important takeaway, is really reduce your stress in your life if you want to have feminine health. And you reduce stress in your life by reducing the impact of stress into your life most of all. Yeah. So really, let's talk enough yin yoga, yoga nidra practices, breathing regulations, really making sure to relax your diaphragm, go into having a bath, nurturing yourself, self-massage, etc. But also by reducing the stress you put onto yourself. And one big source of stress that we put onto ourselves is living out of alignment with our inner cycle. As I just said, running around in the wintertime in a summer dress or with a big wool fur jacket in the summertime puts stress onto your system. We do the same if we do not live in alignment with our feminine cycle. We do the very same if we not act according to our ovulation. We do the same if we do not give the space to the body that it needs for a menstruation, for example. Yeah? And then of course there's different sources of stress: emotional stress, nutritional stress, work stress, and trauma in the body as well. Pop back into the last episode on Spotify and Apple podcast about post-traumatic stress disease, and many more episodes to come. Yeah. And so the most important takeaway, I say it again: stress-free living, regulate, regulate, regulate. Yeah. And some things that's also that I have to say here. Yes, finding tools to deeply regulate yourself at all times is a huge game changer for your overall well-being. A huge game changer, yes. Yet, not everything needs to be regulated. Yeah, sometimes I feel really stressed and I know this is unnecessary in quotation marks. Then I know, okay, I just have to really sit down and exhale deeply. Maybe where do I feel it? I personally feel it very often above my shoulder blades and my neck. So I'm like, okay, I go for a deep opening in my chest. I take a big stretch, or I grab my dogs and cuddle, snuggle them, or I go for a walk, or call a friend. And so this way I regulate. But sometimes also we do not need to regulate. Sometimes really things are regulated in quotation marks by meeting, seeing, and feeling them. Sometimes we do not need to regulate. Sometimes we really just need to say, I'm freaking angry, and stamp down and go like, "Rawr!" and just do it and be angry. And I literally sometimes do it like, I'm angry And I go to my partner, I'm just like, I'm so angry right now, want to punch something. And that is a valid and an okay feeling. And so what I either do is I go for a walk and walk very fast to get it out of my system. Or I literally go and he's holding the pads and I just punch a couple of times. Why not? This is valid. And then once this emotion has found its way into valid manifestation, we can think more clearly. Yeah. This is not always needed, but sometimes needed. Sometimes we just need to cry and then see what's happening after. Yeah. And there's a beautiful proverb, and that is that during the breakdown, listen to the breakthrough. And that's something huge I want to invite you all here to get more into your life. Like, no, we do not want to break down all the time, but we do not want to be put together all the time. We are living beings, and our emotions hold truth for us, especially as women. You are an emotional, not a logical being. Yes, you can also think logical, but it's not your first nature. So why do we constantly deny ourselves how we actually operate in the best ways? Yeah. And so when you have a breakdown in the sense of like, I'm so angry, I need to punch something, or like, wow, you just need to just cry now, which is a way of nervous system regulation actually, then listen to what is breaking through. Listen to that truth behind. Yeah. Okay. Now, that being said, really, most things are regulated. Some things are regulated by meeting, seeing, and feeling them. When you measure yourself like, oh, this is inappropriate or inadequate right now, or whatever, then I'm crying. Like, I think it's normal for a woman to cry like 3, 4 times a week. I think it's normal. Not to completely sob in every meeting or whatsoever, but I do think it's normal for women to sometimes cry. Like, and that is okay. I think every single woman does that actually. So you have permission to just feel your emotions, yes? Now, for everything else, yoga nidra. If you have any questions to that, we're like, Shashi, okay, that was nice, but seriously, when should I regulate and when should I just really feel and meet and see these things? I can, of course, you can always reach out to me. We have the group chat support as well. Yeah, you can drop below the podcast. There's this little reply response box where you can drop the question or a message, whatever. But in general, it's really like get to know yourself, learn to listen to yourself, and recognize your patterns. Everything in life is happening in patterns. And so if you realize like, oh, always when I have a difficult conversation, I'm bursting down in tears and then people are kind and I don't have to face maybe a difficult topic or confrontation or whatsoever, then it's maybe like, no, you have to regulate, girl, and go through it and see how can you master that and upgrade your skill level, your endurance level, your resilience. Whereas when it's like, no, this is really triggering you right now and you have no idea why, allow yourself to feel the emotion because this will reveal the why. Okay, so I think if things repetitively, like in a pattern, is cyclically, repeatedly happen in similar contexts and whatever, it's time to learn to regulate. Otherwise, if you never felt this kind of scenario before, it's really time to feel it and witness it and walk and move through it. That's what I personally think. And then it also has to do with context. Like, I like to keep my drama at home as much as possible. I do have my very, very close friends and family members that I like cry, move, and be very emotional with, and the rest I like to, yeah, just keep it in that space. So if I feel like, ooh, I'm getting very emotional, something's like trigger me or whatsoever, I'm having this and that experience right now, but I'm in public or like among other people, like it's not the time for me to move through that. Then I just regulate with breathing and I go and take myself a moment to just move through it. And then I bring my drama home and take care of it behind closed curtains. That's simply how I prefer doing it. Yeah. Now, next thing is that it is important to see, same as orchestrating a symphony, that we start with one layer after the other. First the rhythm, then the melody. Why am I saying that? This is now in the context of how can we gain harmony with the different cycles and patterns and rhythms in life. Okay, so one layer after the other, first the rhythm, then the melody. Okay, so the first step is to simply become aware of 1 month rhythm. Yeah. So the question is now, how can you integrate everything you learned in the past 4 lessons? Yeah. And so first, we really take care of our own rhythm. We learn to acknowledge the cyclical rhythms of body and nature. So we learn, okay, here I'm bleeding, here I'm ovulating, here's this and this and this. And we start to tap into these energies, one layer after the other, one layer after the other. Being a woman is not an end goal. Being an feminine, like a woman embodying femininity, that is not an end goal. You will never be like, wow, have an experience, and you're like, wow, now I'm a full woman. Now I got it all. Now I'm deeply embodied. Now I'm totally in alignment with nature. No, it's a continuous unfolding, continuous unfolding. We blossom and die every single month, over cycle, over cycle, over cycle. And this keeps going until you die. This does not change if you have menopause, if you have a cyclical living or not. Every single month, the woman is deeply tuned to the moon. Every single month, you blossom and you die. This is the natural rhythm of humans. Yeah. And so, that being said, like, we do not need to stress out to like, oh, I need to learn to live more cyclical, or to like apply and be like perfect in that. Like, one after the other, get to know yourself. Now we know the different phases of the feminine. Like, how can we pierce through these perspectives, and like through these perspectives of more education, you can now have a look onto your own life and realize some things simply more clearly, like, ah, I'm feeling like this because I'm about to menstruate. This is my pattern. Yeah. Also, keep tracking your cycle. Yeah. For everybody listening to the podcast, I attach you a free cycle tracking PDF, yeah, below, and there will come a little guidance to that, how to do that. And you will start to recognize your own patterns. And once you know them, then you start to adapt and come into ease. First, we take away what really sucks, yeah? And we come into ease. And once we took away what really sucks, and we found an antidote to that, then we can move into really putting the cherries on top of the really delicious ice cream, okay? Then, so first we acknowledge the cyclical rhythms of nature and body, and then align oneself with it through different lifestyle dominances, dietary adaptations, and rituals. That's what you all find in the past 4 lessons. Yeah. Then, one of these major natural rhythms, that's what we're going to do today together, yeah, are not only seasons but also the lunar cycle, to which the woman is delicately connected. Yes, 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 this is what we talk about together today. Yeah? So first we align with our own inner rhythm and cycle and vibe. And then we tap into the next exterior level. You cannot adapt your interior nature with the external nature if you have no clue how your interior nature is working out, okay? So if you want to be part of a symphony, first you learn your instrument, guitar. You learn how does the guitar work, yeah? What do you like about a guitar? How can I make music play pleasant? What's my kind of music? And then you find a band or an orchestra to join. You do not first go into the whole symphony like, okay, I want to play aligned in harmony with you guys. And you're like, how do I play this chord? How do I play that chord? No, no, no. You know already how to play your chords, and then you integrate into a greater symphony. All right? Now, we are ready for that. The lunar cycle. Wow, that wasn't quite long intro review whatsoever. I'm freaking excited. The lunar cycle. And I'm getting a little anxious actually. Is the camera recording? I really have to double check that here. Yippee, yes, it is. Beautiful. Now, here we go. The lunar cycle, it is incredibly beautiful. I really, really love it. We have the lunar cycle every single month, moving from new moon to waxing moon to full moon to waning moon, okay? So new moon, then waxing moon is when the moon is growing, full moon is when it's ripe, waning moon is when it's becoming smaller. And literally, I can please take out this presentation, all my Bleed Blissfully girls, because it's so satisfying. I put so much effort into this presentation, and it's incredibly satisfying. My Capricorn heart, every Virgo among you and every Libra, you will dig it so freaking deeply, because it's just like this presentation with the moon and the circles and everything. It's just like lush going under the skin. Yes. Now, before we go deeper into the different phases, the meaning, how they impact us in our life, etc., I digged out some studies, and they are pretty profound studies, okay? So during my work for my diploma, and I specialized during my diploma for menstrual health through Ayurveda and yoga, I already came across quite some studies around the feminine cycle and the alignment with the moon, but all I had found was actually studies that had something to do with the moon and vegetables, yeah, and agriculture and everything. And then obviously the water, how the current and the tides are influenced by the moon, but also had found that like different root vegetables they measured, like especially ashwagandha they measured, the root is the biggest during full moon. So they found if you harvest the root during full moon, it is bigger as even 1 week later during waning moon. Yeah, so the size really fluctuates with that, and then the full moon after again, it is bigger. Very, very interesting, I think personally. And now I found even more studies. I'll attach them all below, okay, and you have them in your presentation. And so there's a beautiful overview about lunar studies. And then I found out that actually the fish melatonin production, they found out that fish perceive the moon, like certain fish, yeah, that they use in the studies, that these fish perceive the moonlight through their eyes, and through the eyes, the moonlight is hitting and stimulating the pineal gland, yeah, and we have the same construct in our being, is hitting the pineal gland and altering the melatonin production throughout the month. So during full moon, there was less melatonin production, there was more night activity happening as during the black moon, the new moon, which also influences serotonin levels. Very interesting. So the fish, which have a very similar anatomy as we do when it comes to eye, pineal gland position, etc., have a different melatonin and serotonin levels influenced by the moonlight. Next study I found is that pineal gland and synaptic bodies in rats. They did this experiment with the rats, poor rats. I'm really sorry for them, but I'm very grateful for these outcomes. And that is, they found out that as well, the pineal gland inside of rats was changing in its excretion and its functioning throughout the lunar month, was influenced by the full moon, new moon, etc. Yeah, and also there was a different rate of synaptic growth in the rats. Synaptic body growth is synaptic body is like synapses. When synapses is like what we need to think, okay? When we say activate your brain, and if we learn something new, we are creating new neuronal pathways. We are needing synapses for that, okay? You only have a fixed amount of synapses, yet the activity is a question here. So there's an increased activity in the synaptic bodies and in the forming of new neuronal connections in the rats, depending on which moon phase it is. Wow, pretty mind-blowing. So the rat has a different the pineal gland functions differently during new moon and full moon and the rest of the month. And as well, the rat has an increased growth of synaptic bodies and neuronal connections throughout the month, depending on the moon. Pretty impressive. So how the rat's brain is growing itself, how the rat is learning, remembering, processing, is changing according independence to the moonlight. Another study found that it's called the influence of moonlight on mRNA expression patterns of melatonin receptor subtypes in the pineal organ of a tropical fish. Okay, and so this study found out that indeed the moonlight has an influence on the mRNA expression patterns of melatonin receptor subtypes. Yeah? What does this mean? mRNA is a small component of the DNA, okay? So how your DNA, to summarize it, make it more easily to comprehend, how the DNA is influencing the melatonin receptors in the fish inside in its pineal gland was altered by the moonlight. That means how the DNA is expressing itself. That's the crazy freaking thing. Okay, so having your DNA is one thing. Having your DNA blocked or activated is a whole nother story. We can have the DNA for being, I don't know, Adonis himself, or like in our case for the goddess Venus herself. You can have that DNA, okay? Or for Diana, the goddess of hunting. You can have the DNA to actually be Diana, the goddess of hunting and strength. But if you just lie on your sofa, depressed by trauma and eating potato chips all day long, you ain't gonna be super strength and beautiful and strong Diana. I'm sorry, but this is the freaking truth, yeah? So having the DNA is one thing, yeah? The DNA, it's expressing itself is a whole different story. We can have a DNA predisposition for cancer, but if you treat your body well enough, the cancer won't have a single chance to develop in your body, yes? Versus, I mean, there's other reasons as well out there. We have to clearly say that, okay? Like, I'm not judging anybody that you didn't treat your body well enough or whatsoever, yeah? But in general, it's that you are less likely to develop that. You can have a genetic predisposition for anxiety, for ADHD, but if you sit down, do your meditation and your healing practices, you will break free from that. You can have a genetic predisposition for obesity, but when you go out, yeah, and do the work, do the healing, you will not become obese, yeah. And so there's these different things that the DNA wants to express throughout ourselves and has an influence on our deep neuronal level, on our hormones and neurotransmitters, etc. Yeah? And so they found out now that also an influence on how the DNA is unfolding itself in these fish, yeah, in their melatonin receptors, to be very precise, is in direct dependency to the moonlight. Yeah, this is pretty impressive. So what the DNA is doing for the fish not only depends on his daily actions and habits, yeah, like sitting on the sofa or hitting the gym, but also on the moonlight itself. Pretty mind-blowing to me, seriously. All right, so yes, we can sit down and meditate. This has an influence on your pineal gland, on your serotonin and melatonin levels. We can do this pineal gland detoxification, blah, 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 but I'm not going now into this conspiracy stuff. It doesn't matter what I think about this or not. I know the pineal gland is pretty important. I do know melatonin and serotonin is very, very important as well. By the way, I'm talking sometimes very fast. You can just do it on half speed. Many people enjoy doing that. It might help you. But I'm also taking longer breaks, so it's just up to you. So melatonin, serotonin is incredibly important for us to feel well, to feel content, and to be in alignment with our inner clock. So our inner clock, if it is healthy or not, depends on your melatonin and serotonin levels to big, big amounts, okay? And this all can be influenced, at least in the fish. It's hard to measure it with humans, because humans have so many different other influences that can impact that, like meditation, like depression, like whatever exposures, yeah. But in the fish, it is influenced, and the correlation of the DNA to your melatonin secretion by the moonlight. Pretty mind-blowing. Now, to all biologists out there, yeah, I am not a biologist, I have to say that. Now, if I somehow he explained mRNA or whatsoever a little bit wrong, please let us know, okay? And please forgive me, yeah? So, but I think the core message is very, very accurate here. I might have confused one or two words for some back, but the core message is accurate. You have the links below, you can read it up yourself. Now, another study found out that certain diseases depend on the moon phase as well. They figured out that during full moon or during black moon, certain diseases had much more outpatient visits as other diseases or as to other times in the lunar cycle. Very interesting. There's a table below in a study. Just click on it, go deeper into it if you want. But yes, certain diseases have way higher rates of hospital submission or checkups or outpatient visits during the full moon or during the new moon, depends on the disease, as compared to the other times around that. Pretty interesting. There's also studies out there on multiple sclerosis together with the moon, also very interesting, and as well with autism. Very interesting. And then impact of lunar cycle on conception and birth. And so here, with this study, I got the freaking chills, guys. Because the next slide I'm gonna share with you, I had prepared before. Then I went into the studies and then I found that study. And I didn't find that study when I was writing my thesis. To that time, I haven't found that study for whichever reason, okay? And so what is very, very interesting, and then I will show you in the next slide and in the next, how I'm connecting the dots for you guys, is that the conception, the highest amount and rate of conception of women conceiving babies is during full moon. Most children are conceived during full moon. I think around 60%. This is what the study is saying. Around 60% of babies are conceived during full moon, versus most babies are born during the waxing moon. This is the moon growing from the new moon into a full moon. Yeah. Now, this blew my mind because I will tell you. Yeah, and before I tell you, no, there are no valid studies out there if menstruation and lunar cycle are in direct connection or not. But simply, I believe, because these studies, it's very hard to take them. There is so many influences out there. When we test stuff with the human, there's so many influences. It's really hard to measure that impact with the moon and with nature. Now, that having said, I would have not even needed to say that actually now, because I will come to that. So, impact of lunar cycle on conception on birth. Most babies are conceived during full moon. Most births happen during the waxing moon, between new moon and full moon. And now listen to that. The lunar cycle and menstrual health. Here we go now. We are bringing the full spectrum onto the table. I'm connecting all the dots for you. Okay, so the new moon from new to new takes 29 and a half days. The average cycle length of women is 28 to 29 days. Yeah, very, very close together to that. There is 13 full moon, like moon cycles in the year, and the woman averagely has 30 menstrual cycles throughout a full year. Yeah. And then even more, what is very interesting is that the new moon is governed by air and ether. Yeah, and this is pretty clear. You can see the air and ether during new moon. You can see all the stars, etc. Yeah. Now, the purpose of the new moon is darkness, and the phase is the menstruation. Yeah? So the menstrual phase is directly connected to the new moon. They're energetically pretty much the same. Yeah. If you have no idea now what I'm talking about, shoot me a message below. I do have a free a free mini course for you on the basics and principles of Ayurveda, yeah, and there is some pretty deep explanation what I mean with things are connected, etc. What do I mean with air and ether? Now, so the new moon, its purpose is the darkness, and the direct correlation to that is the menstruation. I was doing this file before, okay, because I simply just knew that stuff. Now, through years of research and learning, etc. Now, hold yourself tight. The waxing moon, the elements, honestly, I don't know. I cannot find a verified thing out there which elements connect to the waxing moon. But the purpose of the waxing moon is birthing. Also, when we go really into all the witchcraft that is out there around the moon, the new moon is darkness, setting intentions, finding introspection. During the new moon, the sky is dark. We can really go within, yeah. And also during new moon, the moon is in connection with the sun. They're lying together in the same sphere, in the same space on the horizon. And so things are very, there is not much double illumination happening. There is no mirror for what is happening. This is why it's meant, it's the darkness. Like the moon is a reflection of the sunlight, yeah? And so the when there is a new moon, there is barely any moon on the sky. And I just have to say again, this PDF file, it's so satisfying. So there is no additional light in the sky. That means on an energetic level and on a physical level, there is no reflection of the sun. Yeah? The sun is the giver of wisdom. There's no reflection of it. We as humans need reflection for easy comprehension. Yes. And so in the time of the new moon, the subconscious is not illuminated. There is just darkness. This can be very positive. When there is just darkness, there's also complete creativity and freedom. Yeah? And as well, when there's darkness, there's just deeper knowing. Additional senses arise when the superficial senses are not of service no more. Then we're tapping into deeper levels of knowing, sensing, and being. Yes. And so the lunar phase of the new moon is a phase of darkness. And very similar to what we all learned when we went deep down into the lesson around the menstrual phase, this is the phase of going inside, complete introspection, withdrawing your senses from the external world, tapping them into your internal world. The also setting intentions, planting seeds. Seeds are placed into darkness. You do not put a seed on top of the soil, do you? You put it inside of the soil for it to really ripen, to save its energies and become very potent. It needs the darkness. Also, when you have an egg, the hen is sitting on the egg all the time. The egg needs darkness for it to safely grow the next level. Now, the next phase, the waxing moon, I have no idea which elements to correlate with it. Like, I have my idea, but my idea is that it's the earth and water, but I didn't find any other person, source, whatever out there giving the same correlations. So I did not feel ready to write them, at least on black and white, onto the PDF for you guys, as if my own intuitive knowing is absolute fact. I do not want to go that far. Now, the purpose of the waxing moon is birthing. Who decides this purpose whatsoever, if you might be asking yourself? So I'm pulling here together different informations from all different kinds of sources, all different kinds of like witchcraft, ritualizations, quite neo-modern approaches of working with the moon, etc. But I'm also bringing together here Ayurvedic knowledge, yeah, from the books, from different big scholars out there. And as well now, what is really, really interesting. So yeah, the purpose is birthing. most moon schools, let's call it like this, will also tell you that this is then the time when you planted your seeds during new moon. This is then the time to bring these seeds into action, to give birth to your seeds, right? To your ideas. You set an intention, let's say, I want to make more money. So now you go and you create your action plan. You really go into motion, into movement, into manifestation, which is a process of birthing, yeah? And the connection of that as well is the follicular phase is directly correlated with the waxing moon. They go hand in hand. The follicular phase is a phase where we grow a healthy, beautiful new environment for the fertile ovary to be released in and for a baby to grow, yeah? So we are in a growth, in a nurturing, in a giving life phase again, versus the menstruation was in phase of release, and death, yeah? Now, what is the mind-blowing thing? I made that slide first. I was like, yes, the purpose is birthing. I gave him the names. I had these different purposes, was looking for like one concise, strong word giving to it, yeah? So, birthing. The crazy thing is, then I found a study with the connection of conception and birth rates around the lunar cycle. And they say most births happen in the waxing moon phase. And I was just completely goosebumping out because simply like, wow, there's actually a study really giving fundamental numbers and education and fact around what all the witches used to know for freaking centuries, and nobody believed it. So many people out there still like, the moon, blah, 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 it's just spiritual, neo, blah, 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 bullshit science. It is freaking not. There's studies out there, okay? So now it's official. The purpose of the waxing moon is birthing. We see it in the global birth rates. Exciting news, girls. I'm having goosebumps. Now, the full moon is connected to fire and water, yeah? The purpose is experience, and that menstrual phase that's connected to it is ovulation. What do I mean with that? So when we do classical, let's say, moon rituals and moon alignment, etc., we set the seeds, the intention during new moon. We go into action, steady, tangible steps to realize our dreams that we dreamed in the menstrual phase. During the full moon, it's a time to celebrate and simply experience. The full moon is so highly charged, it is impacting the melatonin secretion in rats and fish. At least it's what we measured, yeah? And so we are less tired, we have more energy, we are much more outgoing, our senses are much more fixed outside, the night is much brighter, and as well, whatever there is to experience is even double reflected, like we have the full reflection of the sun. Yeah. So even in the darkness, things are made obvious. And I'm a big, big believer, whatever happens on a physical level happens in an internal, mental, emotional, transcendental level. I'm a big believer that everything out there is a reflection of what is inside, or inside is always a reflection of what's going on out there, right? Like, we are deeply interconnected beings, and as within, so without. This is just what I really, really deeply believe in to be true. And this is how I'm guiding as well my teachings. And so the full moon is a time where the light of the sun is reflected and it's illuminating the night. That means our subconsciousness is deeply illuminated with the lessons, with the wisdom, with the guidance, in a way for us to be so deeply, clearly to be perceived. That's the power of the full moon. That's why I say full experience. Full experience. Be fully present with it. Take it, soak it all in. We do not need to comprehend instantly. Yeah. Like, there's two states of being. One state of being is comprehension. The other state of being is experience. They do exclude each other. We cannot be fully involved in experience if we are already in a process of comprehension. And the process of comprehension, when it starts, your full experience, does stop, because once you comprehend, you're reflecting on what just happened, and you're connecting all the dots to different parts in your life, etc. And in this moment, your experience per se is ending because you're drawn back into a certain past tense reflection momentum. You're not fully present. Yeah. Yes, there can be some mixed moments where you're in both things a little bit, where while you're experiencing, many dots are connecting for you and you're having like many lights bulbing up at the same time, but the full 100% processes are separate of each other. And so the full moon is so deeply illuminating the external and the internal world at the same time. There is a lot of potential dots to be connected in a time when we simply allow ourselves to get our head out of our own freaking drama, soap opera, self-misery, pity situation, and really into, all right, what is happening out there actually? What is happening? Okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. All right, I'm receiving this message, I'm having that inner emotion, and you just flow with it. You just flow with it. It's just a period of 2-3 days, okay? You just flow with it, and then you enter the process of comprehension. That is, for me, really the best freaking way to ride a full moon. I do not need to make sense of it until it's over. Some things we do not need to make sense of it. We simply need to experience them fully, freely. Because as soon as we want to make sense of it, we're also projecting our own ideas, experiences, blah, 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 onto it, which is altering really the experience. So some things we just really need to experience completely freely. And then once that trip is over, we sit down, have our cup of tea, and be like, wow, that was a ride. Wow. And we just look what all happened. It's a flow state. In a flow state, you just flow to your skill and challenge level into the depth. And after you're like, wow, I created a pretty freaking masterpiece and I learned this, and that. That's what happens as well during the full moon. It's an incredibly deep flow state if you allow it to happen. And if you feel like, fuck, I cannot flow at freaking all with that. If you feel like, no, it's just always drama, I hate freaking full moon, it's always destroying me, then, my love, you need to learn to regulate and to witness what is breaking through when you're breaking down, yeah? And maybe you want to consider some deeper levels of trauma healing, which are available in different extents, like in this course together here, we're doing together in the group, trauma healing sessions or one-on-one, whatsoever, yeah? Now, that being said, and excuse me guys, my voice starts to a little bit give up right now. I have been sick the entire last week. I didn't have a voice at all. And now slowly my nose is like classing up again. Yet, I'm so excited for this class. I just want to keep going. Now, the waning moon. So interesting. The waning moon, no confirmed elements. I guess it's fire and space, yeah, but not confirmed. The purpose of the waning moon, as we are coming out from that trip of the full moon, yeah, is dying. And dying is comprehension. Why is dying comprehension? As soon as we comprehend something, we also we just picked it and put it apart and put it into a box of like when you comprehend something, you make sense of it. Once you make sense of it, it just comes into your box of similar things you're making sense of, and it's kind of like standing there dusted as like, I know what it is. But also on the other hand, it's when we fully allow ourselves to really enter a deep flow state, like the full moon is inviting us to do, we inevitably, the flow state, let's say I go on a visual explanation. The flow state starts small and then is expanding, but it's like a tunnel. We need to get through that tunnel of focus, and then there comes the expansion, and then the expansion is closing, and it's kind of like spitting us out again. Yeah? And this is how the flow state works. To get through both holds, the entry of focus and the release, yeah, we need to the contraction, expansion, contraction, yeah. Once we go through that, every time the contraction is happening, a shedding is happening. We simply, with all our loads, baggage, habits, holding on attachments, do not fit into fully submersive contraction. We do not. And this is beautiful and good. But this is also the problem. People are so scared of contraction because it sometimes feels similar to darkness. People are so scared of contraction that they do not allow themselves to enter the contraction, and this is why they don't experience change in their life. But for change to happen, contraction, expansion needs to happen. This is the change of life. Our life follows very clear patterns of up, down, up, down, up, down. Contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. If we do not allow these contractions to happen because we're holding on, we cannot go into expansion. Simple as that. That also means if you cannot stay the same person and expect something to change. That's all I'm saying here right now, okay? And so when we want to enter these flow states and when we want to flow with the moon, and we can look, the new moon is contraction, the full moon is maximum expansion. The waxing and waning moon are these transitionings in between this contraction and expansion. Yeah. So if we want to flow freely between them and go with that continuous rhythm of life of contraction, expansion, which we have to if you want expansion in your life, and everybody wants expansion. Everything wants better, more. Yeah? Like, let's be honest, this is evolution. We need to learn to let go, to fit through the holes of contraction. And these points, it might sometimes feel scary. Sometimes we see literally like, okay, there's not this turning point in my life. Things are falling apart a little bit. I stop feeling like myself fully. I don't really know where to go. This doesn't make any sense. You don't have clarity whatsoever. Just like trust the process. With the skills you got, go through it. What doesn't work, doesn't work. Don't use it. Drop the bag and leave it. If this stuff doesn't work for you, leave it. Trust the universe. If you will need this bag of skills at a certain point somewhere in the future, it will be with you. But you do not need to hold on to anything. If you need that particular part of your identity, of yourself, of your attachments, later on in the future, it will be there with you. Trust. Really trust and go through it. And this is really the process of letting go, going into the contraction. And the step into contraction is happening in the waning moon after the full moon. Yeah? The dying process, which is connected to the luteal phase. This is the phase of fat shedding, letting go. We have that highest sense of criticism where you can clearly look, okay, this is working, this is not working. And yes, you can write it on a paper and burn it and whatsoever, but most of all, really be like, okay, then I just stop applying it. This habit is not serving me. I stop doing it. And whenever you want to pick that habit up again, that tendency, that action, that thought, whatever, be like, you're not serving me. I want something else. Yeah. And you look back, what did I learn during the full moon? And apply that. Bring that in. Give it that space. This is how rituals really work, not with burning and blah. Like this works as well, very, very well. But I like to do both things. I like to really do the witchy stuff, but the deeply grounded stuff as well. Deeply, deeply day-to-day level grounded. Like, okay, this is not bringing me further forward. I let it go. This brought me further forward. I'll try that as well in this situation. Yes? Now, the purpose is dying. The preparation for absolute contraction. New moon then again is the full contraction into darkness. The menstruation as well is in contraction. And after the constriction comes again the process into expansion where we need to give birth again to our constricted embryo selves into fullness and expansion. And really also when you practice, you can support all that. Everything big, open, expressive is as expansion. You can support your contraction by doing more contraction, closing, smalling things, yeah? So if that makes sense for you, whoever is like into, let's say, yoga, etc., you can apply these principles. Now I need some more water. Now, the next question is, you see now this direct lunar alignment, but what is if you are not aligned with that? Let's say you're really menstruating on new moon and you're really ovulating during full moon. Let's say you're really doing that, then you're really perfectly in harmony, because everything I told you now about the lunar phases as well is valid for the feminine cyclical phases. The problem now is if, let's say, you are menstruating during full moon and you're ovulating during new moon, because ovulation makes you outgoing, but the new moon is darkness and makes you want to go inside. What if you're menstruating during full moon? The full moon makes you want to go outside. You have less melatonin production. You are less tired. You're more outgoing. You want to engage with people, harvest that fire of experience of the full moon period, but you're tired and you have your menstruation and you want to rest. This is called lunar misalignment. Now, being disaligned with this rhythm is a consequence of generations of living out of our own power, overriding our own needs, and romanticizing self-sacrifice for others. Yes, so if you're not living in alignment with the moon naturally, if your body is not naturally bleeding in the rhythm of the moon, this is the consequence of generational trauma, not living in your own power, and not standing in for your own needs. But let me tell you, no single woman ever needs to sacrifice her deep nature. We do not. We have been doing, but it's time to stop. We do not have to do that. Not for children, her husband, her career, nor her society. We think we have to sacrifice ourselves, but we do have not. Many of us have not learned how to be in our own power. And so we have not learned how to nurture ourselves, and we have not learned how to live an organized life because of trauma in our body, because of simply lack of education whatsoever. And then it's very easy to say, well, I have to do this because of my children. You raise some children and still do some self-care. But there's other women that can, Of course, it also really depends on your financial situation. I definitely agree on that. It really depends on the kind of relationship you're in. I agree on that. But inherently, it is not needed. You can raise children well. You can have a good career. You can have a happy relationship. And you can have a valid place in society while nurturing and caring for yourself. It is possible. Success in any of these fields does not require self-sacrifice from a woman. And a woman who is in her own power and in her own harmony very likely does a much better job at it. Still, with this, I'm saying there is, of course, conditions that make it impossible for you to not do self-sacrifice. Yes, there are conditions out there, but then these conditions need to be changed and can be changed. Never give up. Never give up, okay? And just because you might not see how yet doesn't mean it's not out there, yeah? Just because we're sitting inside the cave doesn't mean there's not a world out there. Maybe we haven't found the exit yet, but it is there when you keep looking for it, okay? I truly believe that every woman is a vessel of creative cosmic energy, and as long as her connection is stable, the forces flow freely. This is what I truly believe in. We are creatures of creation. We can create life, so we are definitely creatures of creation, and What kind of life you're creating is totally not up to you. This is up to the great divine intelligent plan, and we are simply vessels for that. This is physically absolutely true. It's energetically true. Now, imagine now what I just explained with the menstruation and full moon, etc. Imagine your body feels like only staying in, drinking cacao and eating soups in the middle of August in the summertime. If you're in Australia, in the middle of December, okay? Imagine that. Imagine in the wintertime, all your body and mind is craving is meeting your people, dressing sexy and eating salads. This will not feel good, right? And in a very same freaking way, exactly this is how messed up our body gets on a hormonal level when the menstrual cycle is out of tune with the lunar cycle. Exactly. And I'm freaking mind blown. Nobody knows about that. Nobody's teaching that. I had to dig so fucking freaking deep for years to find that information. I cannot believe people are not telling that to each other. So please send this podcast to other people. I always try to get much more concise and quick to these points to tell it to you guys to make it even more accessible. But it's simply not my nature of speaking. So those of you who hate it, find somebody else to tell you. Those of you who love it, thank you people for being on my team. I had to learn to love it myself. Now I do. It is what it is. So send this to your women, send this to your sisters, freaking definitely. Yes. So the consequence of this is hormonal imbalances of all kind. Hormonal imbalances, your estrogen level, your progesterone level, your testosterone levels, yeah, your melatonin levels, your serotonin levels, your adrenal levels, all these, your thyroid gland, all these things are messed up through this imbalance of the feminine and lunar cycle. It is freaking insane how far these impacts really go. Now, next thing, and I'm sorry, no, there's no studies out there with humans. It's freaking crazy, but simply because there's no scientific evidence yet doesn't mean it is not valid. If you go really, really deep into the holistic naturopathic researches, you will find that this is absolutely freaking 100% true. If you listen to the very old, ancient voices of the women who did the work, similar work as I do, for decades and decades, for centuries, and pass it on from eldest to youngest, from eldest to youngest, they did know that. Yeah. Ancestral women did know that, and there's just tiny, tiny traces out there that survived, but we're bringing them up here to make them bigger again. This is the freaking mission here, okay? I had to crawl down in super freaking tight, tiny rabbit hole to find that shit, and now it's time to spread it again, that we do not have to find it in a secret hidden vault of whatsoever, but it's actually accessible. Simply because, this is my belief, science has not proven it yet, doesn't make it non-true. It makes it simply scientifically unexplored. Just because Columbus hasn't found America yet doesn't mean America was not existent, okay? No. Hormonal imbalances, then lack of orientation in yourself, orientation in your life, yeah. Also, because of the night sky pollution, animals start to lose orientation. Cats cannot find their way home no more because they can't see the stars no more. Very interesting, yeah. Similar for us as well, like the body's like, fuck, what should I do? Where should I go? This lack of confusion, yeah. Your melatonin, serotonin production might be messed off. Then universal disbalance, like overall feeling imbalanced, not home, not really fitting into yourself. These are all consequences of lunar misalignment, and very likely many, many more. As said, there's a statistic as well out there about the lunar impact on multiple sclerosis and autism and ADHD as well. So, and the other diseases where I showed you the study. So really think about it, like this has a huge impact, and it's not a coincidence that the feminine cycle and the lunar cycle have the same length and the same kind of phases and the same kind of purpose in each phase. It is not a coincidence, it's a reflection. The inner menstrual cycle of the woman is a reflection of the lunar cycle. It's the same principle manifested in different planes, but the very same principle. manifested in different planes, because this is how the universe works. There's a principle, and this principle is manifesting itself in all different kinds of planes. As within, so without. As above, so below. These are principles of the universe. Actio is reactio. Kinetic energy is potential energy. Yeah? So, causes for lunar misalignment: generational and collective trauma, for example, war trauma, birth trauma, starvation, witch hunt, patriarch, abuse, suppression. All these kinds of traumata can be passed on through the society, but also from generation to generation. We do inherit traumata from our ancestors, because we can inherit blockages in our DNA. That's one thing. But also we do inherit different kind of facial expressions. Yeah, we inherit different kinds of like body posture, habits, tendencies, thought patterns, beliefs. We are deeply, deeply, deeply impregnated by our parents. Yeah, imprinted by our parents' behavior, which we are witnessing, or our ancestor behavior that we are witnessing as young children, and we just take it on and keep repeating it until we heal it, until we change it. And we don't change it unless we heal it. That's a sad problem here. And also society and collective really has an impact on us. What is so interesting, like living in Southeast Asia, I can see at 7-Eleven, okay, 2 women looking like Southeast Asian genetics, yeah, like Southeast Asian women. I can tell you within a fraction of a second if the woman was born and raised in Southeast Asia, in a Southeast Asian community, or if she's a first or second generation Southeast Asian origin, but raised in Europe or America, first or second generation. You can, in a fraction of a second, see the difference. And it's not the clothes, it's the posture, it's the gesture, it's the facial expression, the mimic, and everything. Yeah? So these women can look completely different. Yeah, they have both, let's say, Vietnamese background, but you instantly see the freaking difference, simply because of collective trauma that is imprinting into them. Trauma is unprocessed experience, okay? Any experience we simply take on. Like an unprocessed experience is like, okay, my dad always does this with his eyebrows, always lifts one up and one down. You just take it on because you're unaware. That's a trauma in quotation marks, but not such a bad one, okay? There's like trauma, it's irrelevant that you have it, and trauma that has an influence. Yeah? And so all these things have an impact on us, why we have lunar misalignment. Also, the feminine cycle syncs up with the alpha femme around. Very, very common. If many women hang out together, the strongest, most dominant women, she gives the lead when all the other women are bleeding. The body just naturally does that. Now, if this woman has a strong traumata and simply bleeds to a different time because of that, because of this physical disruption or a physical psychological disruption, all the other women as well bleed around it. So it's quick that we don't have this lunar alignment. Yeah. Also, modern trauma for the same reasons, yeah, that can cause that. I must also say I'm pretty much in shock around all the events that are happening worldwide right now, like the new war again. It's always a huge trauma on me and the collective. I know as well on you when a new war is starting, whatever. This has an impact on our nervous system. My menstruation this month also is fucked, honestly. Like I had a surgery this month, then I got a little bit sick and everything. And then I'm still traumatized with this war situation. I'm watching news again, which I haven't done for years and years and years. Now I'm even in an update channel around that and stuff. And I do have many, many friends from one part of the collective. And so all these things have an impact on us. Now my cycle also is 1 week late. Happens, it happens, but this brings a lunar misalignment. Then, that being said, wrong habits as well, when we're pushing through, when we're not allowing ourselves to really listen to our body, if we're following a grind hard society concept, if we smoking, drinking coffee on an empty stomach, not eating adequately, not regulating enough, etc., all these wrong habits do lead to lunar misalignment. Self-sacrifice as well, not keeping your boundaries up, not taking what you really need into consideration, and overriding your own needs, losing your identity and your sense of who you are, and stepping outside of your own power is moving your natural rhythm away. And we can summarize here: as soon as you disconnect from yourself, you disconnect from nature. Simply as so. So if you abandon yourself for a certain situation, you abandon your true nature, you fall out of harmony, this will impact your cycle. This is how freaking quick it goes. And that's a beautiful thing. By returning your cycle to its natural, most healthy rhythm and nature, yeah, in that way, you're bringing yourself back into your own self nature. It works both ways, okay? Fixing your menstruation and your period will help fix the relationship and the power you have within yourself, okay? And that's a very, very beautiful thing. We can use that, fixing, healing our menstruation, bringing balance into our feminine rhythms, living in harmony with them. We can use that as a gateway to find harmony within ourselves and peace and power within ourselves. Because as soon as you find power with your physical body, you find the power within yourselves. So it's really a beautiful funnel that you can choose. That's why I also created this beautiful program, because it's a gateway. And I find working with the femininity that we have such a beautiful gateway in going into understanding, healing, nurturing, unfolding, and empowering ourselves to the most profound levels. And then another reason for lunar misalignment is disconnection from nature. We're simply so far away from nature, and this has an impact on us. Being close to nature does not mean that you have to just walk barefoot and wear linen clothes. No, but it means that we stop alienating ourselves from who we are meant to be and actually step in like, okay, I am meant to be like, sorry, I just got distracted for a tiny second. Let me take water. So it doesn't mean that we just walk barefoot and wear linen cloth, but it means that we stop doing all this weird, crazy stuff that is not intended by nature for us to do. Nature did not intend for us to just spend 24/7 hours indoors. Nature did not intend to us to simply be surrounded by straight lines and squares. Nature did not intend to us for us to only eat food coming from plastic bags heated up with weird, crazy waves being made of only chemicals. Nature did not intend to us to create crazy colors and flavors in a chemistry lab and then throwing it onto a plate of weird grains or whatsoever is the base for it and then call it food. That's not what nature intended for us to do. It did not intend for us to live like lab rats. It did not intend rats to be in labs. So it did not intend us humans to be in labs. But if we are very honest, we are living like lab rats nowadays. And you have the choice. You can say whatever you want that society and capitalism, blah, 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 is pushing that on you. Fucking BS. It's not. You are submitting to it. As soon as you have the education, the awareness around that, it is you submitting to it, not them suppressing you. You have the way out. And both is hard. Both is hard. Going out and moving everybody, having a consistent routine is fucking hard. Yes, it is. But being a piece of depressed, anxious wreck is also really hard. So you have to take the choice which heart actually also brings in return of joy and peace and happiness, because one does and the other one just brings misery, okay? So that's what I mean, disconnection from nature, and also not being who you are meant to be. not standing in for. I enjoy being this way. I enjoy doing that. As I just said, no, my episodes are not short. I cannot summarize and give this knowledge to you in 5 minutes. It's not my nature. I don't enjoy telling stories like this. I tried. I don't find enjoyment in it. It's freaking boring me. So I stand for who I am. Either you love it or you hate it. It's up to you, okay? If you made it this far, you're awesome. Yeah. And otherwise, whatever, you're not even listening, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so this is part of being connected to nature, living with the sun, living with its rhythms, living seasonal, and living with yourself, your authentic true self. These things all cause us to be misaligned with our femininity and the lunar cycles. Now, how to return to the ancient rhythm. Number 1, living with the moon in alignment. Problem. Also live with the inner rhythm in alignment. Solution, middle path. Okay, what does it mean? Living with the moon in alignment means bleed with the moon, or if you're not bleeding no more for whichever reason, mostly menopause, if you're not doing that no more, or when you're pregnant, whatever, still live with the rhythm of the moon. Check when is new moon, when is full moon, and do these practices. Take it slow and more easy during the new moon. Apply all whatever you learned in the past lessons with me around cyclical living. Apply that even if you're not cyclical. Apply that to the new moon, waxing, full, and waning moon phases. This is living in alignment with the moon. Now, the problem is if you are bleeding, you have your own inner rhythm, but you also have the other external lunar rhythm. How do you do this to not override your own needs again? The solution here is the trauma healing that is special for the trauma healing and the somatic work that I will be presenting you later on, at least to the Bleed Blissfully girls. Yeah, but you can do somatic, gentle healing practices and healing your menstruation, your hormones, and this slowly will bring you back to it. And also, middle path means you can do certain rituals and be like, okay, now it's new moon. I'm meant to slow more down, even if you're ovulating, you feel full of energy. Do that energy stuff more introverted, use it for more spiritual, transcendental practices. If you're menstruating during full moon, be like, maybe it's not time to go to a party and just like suck it up. No, maybe it's time to be at home, do a menstruation ritual, go within, do the journaling, and slowly, slowly, things will change for you. Do the middle path, but still go out, honor the moonlight, and find your middle ground. Now going here really into detail goes beyond the capacity of this class right now. So I'll make another class around that, another episode. Then, how to return to the ancient rhythm. Honoring your own needs, yeah. Honoring your own needs, definitely. This will help you live in integrity with yourself. Then, nature-bound sisterhood and community. Go with sisters into nature, expose yourself to the moonlight. Big game changer, expose yourself to the moonlight as much as you can. Ideally with other women, beautiful practices. Go out, sing, dance, whatever, yeah. Somatic work for trauma release and alignment techniques. Now we're gonna go really, really deep, okay? The somatic work for trauma release, I give you all a mini overview and then I go really deep in a closed, safe container with everybody of you who's inside my program. And here just saying, yeah, also for the first one, living with the moon in alignment, when I call you out to go the middle path, apply the practices that I'm now presenting to you now, even when your menstruation is differently aligned. Practice what I'm telling you now in alignment with the moon, and this slowly might move your menstruation in alignment with the moon. And otherwise, you know where to find all the gold. It's inside Bleed Blissfully. Like maybe deep trauma healing is needed. Maybe you need a badass practicing. It's my entire herbal guide. It's inside Bleed Blissfully. You can get it all inside there, and all my guidance and safety support. Now, somatic womb work for trauma release. New moon practices a yoni steam and yoni bath. So you can do that. Besides when you're menstruating, please don't do yoni steam and yoni bath. Then, waxing moon practices is strengthening practices. Think, for example, Kegel exercises. Full moon practices is ecstatic and orgasmic practices. It's time to just get juicy and really glowing and going. And waning moon practices are all practices for releasing. Think, for example, yin yoga. Okay. Now, that being said, we are wrapping up here. Bleed Blissful ladies, there will be a second video for you with the in-depth, where I go really deep with you now into yoni steam, yoni bath. Yoni bath is, I think, the most potent way to heal many, many things inside of your body. We go really, really deep into how to clear generational womb trauma. I give you the full technique, everything you need to know about that. I'm giving you my full herbal guide to self-manage whatever imbalances you might be experiencing. We're going to go into all the strengthening practices. I'm going to show you quite some techniques here. We're going to go into ecstatic and orgasmic practices and how we can activate them and how we can utilize our body to go into these ecstatic orgasmic states. Yeah. And as well, we go into waning moon practices, releasing practices. I'll show you everything, how to really deeply release, again, physical trauma, psychological, emotional trauma that is stored inside of your wound, and how you can smoothly, gently, really freaking heal your being and your life from that, to step into the most free, radiant, relaxed, healed, aligned, harmonious, healthy version of yourself. That's all happening in the next video. For everybody else, I am so excited that you have been here with me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a lot out from this class. If you have any questions, please drop them below in the box of the Spotify list. You can find the link for the early sign up for Bleed Blissfully as well. Doors are opening very soon again. I'm freaking excited. It will be a good special. The first 3 to sign up will get a free one-on-one call with me, and the first few days it will be off for 50%. So be quick. Definitely make sure to follow the link. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a fantastic time. If you want to reach out further for me, just check the description below. There's all the links you will need, and I hope to see you soon next week. Mwah.